I'm just singing along with it now. What do you think? Welcome to the family with.
Co-host Catherine Brandt.
And Andy Brant Bernard.
Whose hair looks
See?
very bad. I feel like Maxine Waters always
Here.
fussing with her wig.
Maxine Waters.
Yep.
Who is that again? I don't even remember who that is.
She is a very, very elderly
Oh, her. The one that was.
congressperson or
Yeah.
senator or something.
She is a
from
representative.
She was screaming at somebody last week,
California.
wasn't it?
She's a mad. She's angry.
Yes.
An angry woman.
Angry person.
She is 86 years old.
Yeah.
She's 86 and still in Congress?
Probably time to
Sure.
retire, but she never, ever will.
Well, you
No.
wouldn't want to turn it over to the next generation, would
No,
you?
of course not.
I mean, that's what we're doing on this show, to tell you the truth. I haven't really talked much about it, but in the near future, a year or two from now, probably a year, maybe two, that Andy and Alex will take over the show completely, because that's how life's supposed to go. You hand it off to the next generation, right?
Yep, family business.
A family business handed off to the
200
next
years will be the Bernard Family Podcast in business since
200
2012.
200 years from now.
It'll be like one of those Japanese carpenters who've been in business for 1,000 years.
Nothing wrong
200
with
years
that.
from now, we'll probably just be able to teleport our thoughts into somebody else's brain. We won't even speak to each other.
We're
I
pretty
gotta
close.
I got to tell you, honestly, I've been getting some really, really good messages from all of you listeners out there. I really support your views of the whole thing. Well, no, seriously, about because I tend to take stuff a little too seriously. There's no question. I always have my entire life, but yeah, I just basically want to come on this show for a year or two more, have a good time, then hand it off to Andy and Alex. That's what I'm looking forward to. So, calm down, Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah, you calm down, you.
Okay, I have a weird stat for you. Maybe it's only weird to me. It might only be weird to me. I'm not sure. How long does the perfect nap last?
Oh, I'm such a bad napper.
Yeah. When I nap, it's a long time because I'm insanely tired.
I go in to take a nap. I'm very, very tired, and then I end up not napping at all. But I just kind of lay there wishing I was napping, if that helps. I would
Yeah.
guess. I would guess an hour and a half.
Hour and a half?
I would guess.
Andy?
Yeah, for me, that's probably about right. Because I don't nap. I don't get enough sleep, and then I catch up on my sleep is what I do.
Oh,
There you have it. But I, by coincidence, find out when I look at my watch, it's almost always 51 minutes. Almost
napping?
always.
Huh.
Yes. And then I hear it says here a perfect nap should last 51 minutes. Now,
what?
what's that all about?
You're the perfect napper?
I'm the perfect napper, exactly.
Wow.
Things to be.
Unless we're talking about Chuck Nap, of course. But,
Wow, that's a throwback name.
Oh, this is from X, mentioned by Rodney Lokes. No, I believe he is a good family man that cares for others. But it doesn't say what he's responding to.
Who
Okay, then.
is Maxine
Useful
Waters?
information.
It's on X. Well, I'm assuming that the reason that it was sent to me is that somebody took a shot at me, so Rodney stood up.
Oh, you
You
know.
could be.
I guess I don't.
You know what? If as long as you're alive, you're gonna be taking shots.
Oh
Just
yeah,
how it is.
yeah. There's no question.
Like I said, I mean, Elon Musk could give everybody $1 billion, cure cancer, colonize Mars in the most fantastic way possible, and make sure that nobody ever was hungry again, and still people would bitch about it.
Well, there's no
Yep,
question.
wouldn't matter.
It wouldn't matter.
That's true. Like I said, I don't even know if it's about me or not. Rodney would know. And have we got our phone yet, or is that tomorrow?
They're coming in to install it tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
We do have the text line, which I should probably.
Text.
I announced it on Facebook. What is the number? The number is 612-361-6622. You can text it. Do not call it, because no one will answer.
Yeah, you can text it. So Rodney, if you're listening, you can text us and tell us what it's all about. But I'm hoping Rodney was sticking up for me. That'd be quite the honor, don't you think?
Yes. It's always nice to have
The
somebody
Honorable
stick
Rodney.
up for you.
No question about it. This does surprise me. For the first time in 42 years, America's best-selling vehicle is not the Ford F-150. Is he just too big now? Is that what happened?
They're so huge now, and
Yeah, they are.
the bed space is way low compared to how it used to be. I saw a comparison of the F-150's bed sizes by year,
Right.
and apparently it's gone down by like half compared to the length of the vehicle.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's like it's not even very useful for, a truck anymore, like hauling things.
You'd never know that down here in Florida. There are gigantic trucks
Oh, God,
everywhere.
yes.
Well, we're sort of in a construction zone for the next
Yeah.
probably 15
Yeah,
years.
that's the thing is, I mean, you're always going to need trucks because you're always, if you're in construction, you need a truck. There's just no other way.
Yeah, hauling horses around and
Yeah.
whatever they're doing out in farmland, they're going to need trucks. So,
Yep.
but I think as a recreational vehicle, it would be kind of stupid because it's probably got bad gas mileage.
Yeah,
and it's
I
very hard to
drove-
park.
I drove an F-250 as my car for a year,
Yep.
and I hated every second of it.
Well, we knew you weren't going to get killed if you were
No,
driving the
right,
F-250.
right.
That's why
Yeah,
That's why I forced you to drive it.
I think I could have been struck by the moon and not even noticed in that
Yeah,
thing.
it's a sturdy truck.
Now, where'd you get that? We gave that to you?
It was
Well, you
my
didn't
old
give it
white.
to me, but
Yeah, it was my old truck.
Oh, your
yeah,
old truck.
For the
she just
farm.
like she didn't want it anymore, so I just drove it around until she sold it. I'm guessing. I don't know.
No, it wasn't. No, it was just I wasn't using it,
Oh,
so I
Yeah,
told
that-
you to drive it.
yep. Told me to drive it, and yeah, it takes about 3 hours to get up to speed and stop.
I used it for hauling hay and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And when I wasn't doing that, you were driving it.
My favorite Andy vehicle story is when we lived out on the farm out in Dayton. Back in the old days, I believe he was 6 and Alex was 4, and Andy put the old vehicle in neutral, and it rolled down a hill just a little bit. Luckily, it hit a tree and stopped because it would have gone off a cliff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's,
would not have survived that.
Nope.
No, probably not. That was over. It was facing. Where was it? The attached garage hadn't been built yet, right?
Well,
Isn't
it was
that where
smaller. The big one hadn't been built yet. It was a smaller one, yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we had the 3-car detached garage.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Was that-
always there.
That was always there, but the
Yeah.
attached garage wasn't. It was just like one.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, the car was parked over where the rest of the garage would have been, and yeah, past that it goes pretty far.
Yeah, I came home and my truck was smashed in the front, and
Yep.
Dad was. I don't know what you were. I don't know why were the kids in the car by themselves.
Actually, you were there.
I was not
but
there.
Yes, you were. We were all going to go someplace, and you and I had to go in the house for some reason. But I don't remember what it was for. But we came back out, and we just saw luckily, the truck was wedged up against a tree and didn't go off the cliff. So that was good.
Just as I had planned.
Yeah, just as you had planned. And Mom and I never again left the two of you alone in a vehicle. I will tell you that. It was a bad idea in the first place, but then it never happened again. So that's good.
Yeah.
Right?
Sometimes we leave Ethan alone in the van for a little while, but I mean it's parked in the garage, and he
he's in a
can't
car
start
seat,
it. No,
right?
he can get out of his car seat if he wants to. What
Alex
he does
always
is he
let-
goes up to the front and then he starts honking the horn and turning on the windshield wipers and stuff.
Because Alex had a Subaru, and she'd always let the kids in the front. And I was like, "You should never do this. You should never do this.
Right.
It makes me very unhappy. It makes me very unhappy." And she said that it had some sort of safety feature where they can't do anything. I'm like, "How does the car know who's in?"
Unless the fob is in there, you can't turn the car on, for one. So there is that.
Oh, really? Oh, well, that's good.
If I have my handbag on the outside of the car,
It's not
it would
supposed
turn
to.
on,
It's not supposed to turn on if it's outside.
even if it's just right outside the door.
Yeah.
Like if you just put it down on the ground.
And actually, it's getting a little. I think they did that for just that reason. It's like, Mom puts her purse down and then the
Yeah.
kid
Yeah.
turns on the car or whatever. They've gotten a little ridiculous with that safety feature because if Melissa's bag is in the trunk, the car will not start.
Well, you know what?
Because the key is too far away from wherever it senses the key.
Every year kids are killed with some sort of crazy thing with cars, so it's probably better to be safe than sorry.
No question about it, ladies and gentlemen. So,
I
yeah,
vote
just
yes.
yeah, be safe, not sorry. That's absolutely true. No question
Yeah.
about it. By the way, thank you to all the people on Facebook and on X and all the nice things you've had to say. And it just it's overwhelming, particularly on Facebook. It's very, very positive. Is Facebook more positive than X? I guess.
Well, it wasn't. Maybe it has come that way. I don't know.
I know. I'd say Facebook was always more positive than Twitter. Sure.
Yeah, then
Twitter was
now,
the
actually.
probably most negative place on the entire internet. And I mean, I
Right.
think it probably largely still is. A lot of those people fled when Musk bought it.
Yeah.
But there's still plenty of people on there that are just always mad. And Facebook has a lot of people who are always mad, but it's different because your name is attached to it, whereas Twitter is completely anonymous. And
Oh, is it?
anonymity will always
Oh, yeah.
create problems like that.
Yeah. Twitter, to me, it just, the reason why I think it's so negative is because there was suppression of Republican voices.
Oh, was it
Yes,
really?
there was
Yes,
proven- yeah.
it was proven on Facebook and
Yep.
Instagram and all the rest
Really?
of them. That,
Yeah, he came
that-
out and said, the administration was basically ordering us to take down these posts.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Facebook
Really?
did it too, though. So, I mean,
Yeah, they did, and the algorithm was all pointing towards Democrats. So I think
Yep.
X, once they said it's freedom of speech, because X was doing it too, before Elon Musk bought it.
yes.
And I think that Republicans finally have a voice, and conservative people finally have a voice, and that's a good thing. But I think that they were silenced for so long that they are really mad about a lot of things.
yeah. It's
Everybody
funny-
calm down.
It's
That's
funny
what I have.
seeing how Zuckerberg, like
Yeah,
a year
hat in
ago,
hand.
he was like Mr. Weird Robot Man, and then Trump gets elected, and now he's like one of the cool Republican kids. All of a sudden, he's like
Oh, is he?
going to rallies and like joking around and stuff. It's like, did someone install a new chip in you, or what's going on?
I think he just goes wherever the wind blows
I
because he
think
doesn't want to
so.
lose any money.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
it's a
he's
possibility.
probably more like an operational psychopath than anything.
Who owns Facebook?
Zuckerberg.
Oh, that is Zuckerberg. Okay.
Yeah.
So you got X is owned by Elon Musk and Facebook is owned by Zuckerberg.
And he
Yes.
also owns Instagram, right?
Yes.
Or does he?
Yeah.
But I seriously, I was really, because I've just gotten back on. I was off social media for quite a long time. I was off Facebook for at least 2 months, maybe even a little longer than that, just trying to decide where we were headed and what we were going to do and all the rest of it. But I got back on there, and everybody's been very, very pleasant on Facebook, and actually on X as well. It's I don't really. There are some people that you're going to get some people that have to play tough guy on social media. I'd like you except for the fact that blah blah. It's like, whatever. Whatever. You live your life and I'll live mine. Everything's fine. But yeah, I find it to be a pretty pleasant experience now, particularly on Facebook. It's very, very positive from what I can see.
Well,
Anyway.
I think that part of that might come from the fact that when you were at KQ, it seemed like people couldn't like all of you. They could only like one of you.
Yeah, that's
maybe
very true.
two of you.
Yeah, that's true.
So it was sort of like anytime somebody said something, they would just go after the other person. And I don't know why that would be, but it just became very toxic.
Well, that's too bad.
Over there.
Is that why I got off social media? I didn't even know that, but that's probably why I got off it. I just saw it and finally got sick to death of it. But I will tell you, people now on Facebook and X both are very, very pleasant, and they point out, hey, Tom, we don't want to hear you going on and on about the political stories and this and that and the other thing. Political news, not stories. But I guess they are stories in the newspaper. But yeah, they just don't want to hear it. They would just like to hear the show, get entertained, and have a few laughs and go home. Right?
That's the
That's
goal.
right. They like
does make
the
sense.
dinner table atmosphere. That's what I've
They
always
do.
heard.
They absolutely love it. There's no question about that. We shall take a break because right on the other side of this break, Kristen Burt will pop in, and nobody is more positive than Kristen Burt.
Absolutely.
Be right back. For Bradshaw and Bryant, Michael Bryant. Michael, what's up?
Dealing with another case where a person gave a statement to the adjuster because they thought the person was really friendly.
Is that a good idea?
Well, the problem is they know the law when they call you up. And while you're trying to be fair and you're trying to get help, the reality is there are questions you get asked that the way you answer them make a big difference. And people put themselves in trouble. And when they aren't in trouble, they didn't do anything wrong, but suddenly the adjuster's got a statement that can blow up their case completely.
What has caused people to be so untrustworthy, I guess is the best way I could put it? They take advantage.
Well, insurance companies have hired adjusters whose job it is to deal with unrepresented people. So they're supposed to kind of lure them in, call them every day, see how they're doing. And people are like, oh, I'm doing pretty good. where the reality is they've kind of adjusted to their problem that they've got going on. So it's not that they're completely better, but the way they say it gets to be a problem. And that's why having somebody who can explain your rights, represent you, make sure that you understand the law before you give a statement can make a big difference in your case.
Michael Bryant, Bradshaw and Bryant. It's time. Why should your business bank with North American Banking Company? Here's Austin Bartz of Bartz Lawn and Landscape and Bartz Snow Sculptures.
I started banking with North American, I think, 3.5 years ago. All the people know me by name. I know them by name. It's fun to come into the bank and actually talk to somebody you know. So I made the switch and I'm very happy. It's the best bank I've ever been at.
So why not bank where I bank? With my friends at North American Banking Company. To learn more about North American Banking Company, go to nabankco.com. That's nabankco.com, or do what I do and stop by any one of their 6 Twin Cities locations. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Ladies and gentlemen, Kristen Burt Entertainment News brought to you by North American Banking Company. Go to nabankco.com to learn more. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Now, it's going to be tough because, Kristen is so negative all the time, just has, goes after people, attacks them, just very negative. Oh, there she is now.
Stop it already.
I forgot to mention that Facebook said we need to get rid of Kristen.
Yeah, you have no fans at all.
They hate me on Facebook.
Oh, boy.
Honest God, you think you're loved enough on social media?
Well, I'm only trying to put positive things out into the world because I know it's a very
Good.
chaotic time for a lot of people. So
Yeah.
like I said, I'm here to deliver the fluff, and hopefully the fluff brings a little bit of joy to your day and maybe, lets you forget about the rest of what's happening.
That's what you need sometimes.
You
I will
do.
tell you, honest to God, Kristen, I have not run into one person, not one in the, 12 years it is?
Yeah,
that we've worked together?
yeah, I think that's what we determined yesterday.
I think it's 12 years.
13.
Not one person has ever said, why do you have Kristen on? I don't like her. No one's ever said that to me.
Wow.
Good.
You've got a magic spell.
It's got a magic spell, exactly.
I try to be easy to work with and at least a little fun. So
No doubt about it.
I think you're doing it.
I went for a long walk this morning and ran into a guy from New York, a guy named Bill.
Oh, Bill.
He's lived all over. I can't tell you exactly, but I would guess Bill's leaning toward your billionaire status, just because I could tell by the way he was talking.
That's why
He
his name is
develops.
Bill. When he was younger,
Yeah.
he was called Mill.
There you go. Mill, now Bill, and soon it'll be Trill. Hey, look, it's Trill.
My good friend Bill.
My good friend Trill.
Well, he was on Palm Beach Island, so
Yeah, there.
chances
true.
are he's a billionaire.
There's a lot of Bills on Palm Beach Island.
Okay, very little quick aside here because Catherine brought that up and it just popped into my head. Catherine and I were watching the 3rd ever episode of Criminal Minds.
Yeah, we're going back and starting all over again.
Melissa and I watched through the first, I don't know how many seasons, like probably 5-6 years ago.
But what's funny about it is we're watching episode 3 of season 1. There's been a murder in Palm Beach. That was not Palm Beach they were
course.
shooting.
Palm Beach has
course it
never
wasn't.
had mobile homes
There was a mobile.
God, no.
or open areas.
Yeah.
what is going on?
I think
I know.
the average resident of Palm Beach, if they saw a mobile home, they'd start to like blister and burn.
And then another thing they said that was really funny. So they're investigating this murder, right? This bomb's going off. And they're
Yep.
trying to figure out who's doing it.
Yep.
And they said, well, it was a $10 million condo project. And I'm thinking, Palm
Probably
Beach
more.
Island, probably every condo alone is worth
Well, I don't
$10
know.
million,
One little
much less
unit.
the building.
This was in 2005, so I don't know. Well, although 2005 was during a housing bubble too, so
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
I know,
don't
but
know.
it was like $10 million on Palm Beach Island.
Not
is
happening.
nothing.
But it was hilarious because the homes along the street where this guy, a bomb blew up and killed him. The houses along the street were like the 2 bedrooms with the aluminum awnings.
Yeah.
It's like, that ain't Palm Beach, I can promise you.
You used to find some of that in the northern part of the island. There's a lot of older homes
Yeah,
that
that's
had
true.
not been updated in a million years because they just were used for vacation homes. And you could find a few of those, but they still were much larger. And it just did not look right.
So, Kristen Burt, since you bring everyone joy every day, I suppose we better turn it over to you to turn. You need to bring some joy, Kristen, KB2 Kristen Burt.
Do
Sprinkle.
it.
Well, I'm going to bring some Minnesota news today. We were talked about Prince earlier this week. I know we mentioned him when we were talking
Mm-hmm.
about like the best Super Bowl
Yep.
halftime shows. His documentary has been stuck in limbo at Netflix.
Right.
Yeah, and if we go back about 5-6 years, his estate gave a filmmaker the rights to do a documentary, but they only gave him the rights for 6 hours. When he delivered the final product, it turned out to be 9 hours. And
Oh,
he's like,
God.
I will not edit this. Like,
Yeah,
he's like, this is the official artistic vision. And they're like, we only gave you permission for 6. And so they went to court over this. And they fight. I know. Do you believe this? And so
That's
Netflix
dumb.
has been like, we just want to show this documentary, this docuseries about Prince. It's not going to see the light of day. That's it. So I know.
Huh.
So they went and settled, and Netflix is washing their hands of it. And what's going to happen now is the estate is going to create their own documentary telling what they say is the true story of Prince.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if we back up just a little bit, New York Times obviously either saw a copy or caught wind of what was happening in the docuseries, and it does talk a lot. They speak a lot with some of his former girlfriends who talk about the emotional and physical abuse suffered while in a relationship with Prince.
Ooh.
Allegedly.
Ooh.
Allegedly, of course. And I have a feeling that may have been some of the content in the documentary that the estate was arguing
Yeah.
with.
Yep.
Yeah.
Who is the estate now, anyway? I mean,
Did
who's
he
the
have
lo-
kids?
I don't think so.
He had one son who passed away.
Oh yeah. Right.
Oh, he did.
Yeah.
Who owns his estate now?
Yeah, because he wasn't officially married to anybody.
Yeah, and he had two parts. At one point, there were two factions of the estate that were fighting each other too.
Right. Yep.
And I don't
Yeah.
know what it's merged into at this point.
Oh.
3 of his half siblings. Looks like.
Oh.
There's 2 of them. There's Prince Legacy LLC, and then there's Prince Oat Holdings, OAT. I don't know what that's supposed to stand for, but Prince Legacy, it's his like half siblings, Sharon, John, and Noreen, and former business advisors. Whereas the Oat Holdings is apparently the publishing company that he published his music under.
Well, that usually stands for of all times.
Prince of all times. I mean, maybe.
And he had no will when he passed away either. So that was a
Right,
big
Yep.
case and all of that. And Ezra Edelman is the filmmaker that created the Netflix docuseries that will never see the light of day.
That's really too bad. I would love to see that.
I think so. And I think we're still going to get a Prince documentary, obviously done by the estate itself, but it's probably going to be a sanitized version of the
Yeah,
story.
you got to
I'm gonna guess.
wonder how close he was with everybody that's going to be
Right.
doing this.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, if they're just going to try to, polish the brand.
Right. And he did. I mean, he was an incredible musician, an incredible performer, but there was a lot of darkness. I mean, there's been a lot of deep dives with his marriage to Mayte Garcia,
Oh,
the loss
yeah.
of their son. And I believe I'm going to say it was Barbara Walters. It could have been Diane Sawyer. But do you remember when they did that? They did like a sit down interview.
Yep.
And they really were kind of like cagey about whether their son was alive or not.
No, I don't remember any of that.
Yeah,
It
that's
was
tough.
a very weird situation.
That's kind of creepy.
Yeah, it was. And if you go back and like watch it, there was a lot of grief.
What did he
a lot
die
going
of?
on. No, I want to say like SIDS,
Oh,
We're
but
talking
really?
I
about
don't know.
Prince's.
yeah.
Prince's son with Mayte Garcia.
Well, Jaden in the chat has a correction. Prince was married twice.
Oh,
Who else was
Really?
he married to?
Mate, is that pronounced?
Yeah, that's
That's the
Mayte.
first one.
Yeah,
And then Manuela Testolini.
I never even heard of that one.
I don't even
remember.
Well, he
remember
was
when was
married
that
for
marriage.
7 years, 2001
7
to
years.
07. So,
What?
yeah,
Well, when did he die?
2000
16. So, well after that.
Oh, so well after that. Okay.
Let's
Yeah, I don't
see.
know.
Prince's
But he only had one son, if I'm correct. That's what we were talking about, not the marriages.
Prince's son died at the age of 6 days. So,
Oh,
yeah, he
Jesus.
probably had some sort of
either
birth defect or
congenital,
something.
Yeah,
yep
Or
genetic
SIDS.
disorder.
yeah. Ugh, that's
Well,
sad.
yeah, you'd understand why you wouldn't want to talk about that.
Yeah, because he was a deeply private person, and he was
He
shy. So
was, but then they did this interview talking about their son. But we'd have to go up and look it up again, but it was like very strange. Like they were being so cagey about it. And then you're like, why are you doing this interview? Especially if you're in the throes of grief.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah.
That whole time, looking back, well, while you're talking about this, I was around all of that. I was only around Prince once, but I was around all of his people a lot, and the Siegel family was involved in some of that stuff as well. And looking back at those times, it was an interesting time because you could feel in the air when things were real and when they weren't. Yeah. Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like sometimes like this can't be real. Then it turns out to be real. And then we go, oh, this is real. Well, no, it isn't. It's just a very, very odd way to live when you're that big a star, that big a personality worldwide. It's just amazing.
Do anything to not have that life.
I suppose
Yeah,
that's
I know everybody
true.
wants to
Yeah.
be famous, but there's a real bad side to fame. That kind of fame.
Yeah, as someone who living in Los Angeles a long time, it's just there's a level of fame that it's fine if you're able to still grocery shop and do the normal things.
Right.
Once you get into that bubble where you can no longer do the day-to-day activities, and now people think it's great, like, oh, someone else can grocery shop. No, there is some weird pleasure, like being able to like go down the aisle and pick out your own Oreos or like chips and dip.
Well, it's freedom, yeah.
Yeah.
Freedom and normalcy. Just like the whole gilded cage thing is a real phenomenon. It's like you can't leave your house. And I mean, like, sure, you're rich and famous, and the reason you can't leave your house is because you're so famous and everyone loves you. But the fact is, you're still basically on house arrest.
Yeah, I would hate that.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
so
would do
after
them.
their son died, so they sat down with Oprah Winfrey.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so that was like all of the weird surroundings with their son. And they were just really cagey about the death and everything. And maybe they just shouldn't have sat down with them at all. And for a long time, they didn't admit that their son had passed.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Ew.
That's kind of it's either suspicious or a weird response to grief. I
think
know.
it's the latter.
Yeah. Oprah came to their Paisley Park home. They kept up the facade that their son was still alive, even giving Winfrey a tour of the estate's empty nursery and dodging questions about his rumored health issues. I knew there was something like really
That's
strange about
very
it.
weird, yeah.
But you
And
know what?
Maite has talked about it since his death. She has gone public just about how difficult that marriage was and keeping up the facade of their son's death was because she's a mother in the throes of grief too. So.
Right.
Right. I mean,
Yikes.
I brought up before how unreal it was just to be around that. Well, first of all, we would play in Cliff Siegel's backyard. Cliff is now a woman, and I'm not saying that's kicking off things in an odd way. It's just Cliff became a woman how many years ago?
Quite a while ago.
It's been a
It's
long
been
time. now.
quite some time, actually.
But we used to play in his backyard. We played football because he had this gigantic back. He lived in a stone house. The entire house, all of the walls, it was all stone. I mean, he's big, like
Like a medieval castle.
Not
Yeah, I was going to
boulders,
say, repels invaders pretty well.
Oh yeah, we did repel invaders. But you'd show up at his house to play football because I played every Saturday in the fall. It was wonderful. But again, Prince would be there that one time, or this James Walsh. Remember James Walsh, the Gypsy Band. Matter of fact, I'll add to the James Walsh part. But James always came and played football, and one of the nicest guys. I really miss him because he died now a short time ago. But one time, the thing just popped in my head. You guys just talking about all these famous people would come in and out of that house. You wouldn't expect to meet these people, but they just kind of be there, right? So, James, like I said, James Walsh was a great guy. I really miss him. But he and Cliff got into an argument
Great.
on the football field, and James got so mad he tore off all of Cliff's clothing. I was just like, what is going on? What is that?
Usually you tear your own shirt off.
What the hell?
I will never forget that as long as I live. It's like, what the hell?
What did you guys all do?
Well,
I mean,
like
when
I
you
said-
witness someone acting
Yeah,
that.
I don't know how I would react to that.
I mean, Cliff was Cliff was in his own band. He had a big hit back in I think the late 50s, early 60s, something like that. So he was a really great singer himself. But all of these people would just show up. All these side people to Prince, they would be there like every other Saturday, and it was such a surreal world. But the reason I even bring that up is because you got this feeling like, I don't know if I'd ever want to be that famous.
You
Like
don't.
worldwide famous. I don't think I'd ever want to be worldwide famous.
You don't. I mean, you don't want to be
Yeah.
Michael Jackson famous, Prince
No.
famous.
No.
Nope.
It's really not fun. And I even think of like Jennifer Aniston. She's another person that just can't
Yeah.
go to the mall.
Yeah.
And
Right.
she's someone, it's kind of interesting that you're talking about Cliff having the house where everyone gathers. Jennifer Aniston, someone that brings over a lot of famous
Yeah.
people and they come over
Yep.
for brunch or pumpkin carving. And I think it's the only sense of normalcy they have because they can do it behind her gated, property and try and do the normal things with your kids. But it's not a great life in many respects.
I would be a master of disguise, I tell
Yeah,
you.
seriously.
I mean, you have to be able to go out.
One of those
Just put a
Mission
wig on and
Impossible
some
faces.
sunglasses. Yeah.
But the paparazzi is just like
They
in
know.
LA,
Sure.
it's not.
They'll follow you out of your house. They'll follow you to the grocery store, and
Yeah.
now everyone knows this is your disguise.
They are
Wow.
outside of Ben Affleck's house every single day. They're outside of his kids' school every single day.
Why? Well, leave him alone. He's not in the middle of anything.
Or he's just divorced from Jennifer Lopez. They just like to capture him.
Yeah.
He's become like the drama king because every marriage, every relationship.
Weren't they married twice? Or-
They dated twice and
they
married the
dated.
final time. So
Okay.
on their
Did he
2.0.
Did he marry somebody twice?
He was married to Jennifer Garner before that. So it was
Oh, okay.
Jennifer Lopez, and they got engaged, broke up the engagement, and then he and Jennifer Garner got married, and then he slept with the nanny, and then they divorced,
that's
and
right.
then
Wait a minute. Who slept with the nanny?
Ben Affleck.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, maybe don't do that.
You know what's weird about that? This is a personal choice. I think his brother Casey's a much better actor than he is.
Oh, he is. I think
Casey's great.
Yeah.
I don't think either of them would disagree. I think that Ben Affleck's a really great writer and director.
Yeah. Yep.
We
I agree.
watched, what was that movie about the space thing with Casey?
Oh, yeah. I can't remember the name of it. But
It's new.
Yeah. Casey Affleck was in it.
Slingshot?
Slingshot.
There you go. Very good. Very good. All right. Look at the brilliance that everybody just settles down. They're nice and easy going. You come on.
She's a calming presence.
The calming presence of Kristen Burt. So
Here to
that'll
deliver
be
the fluff.
magnificent.
She's our Zen master.
One could only hope she would be the Zen master. There's no question. Any closing words, sister?
Yeah, if you're looking for something to watch, Cobra Kai, the series finale has dropped.
We watched it.
Night.
You watched it all last night? The whole rest of the series?
I told her there was more to the series, but she
Oh,
wouldn't believe
it
me.
it dropped today.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's like,
well,
what, 5
no.
more
I was at
episodes,
the
right?
premiere last
Oh.
night with the cast and the crew. It was really fun to see all Ralph Macchio and William Zabka and Martin Cove.
No, we watched the 25-minute karate fight at the
The 5th
tournament.
episode.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the last one or whatever season
So
that
the
is.
last half of the series drops today on Netflix.
And
And then
that's-
they're continuing the universe back to film with Ralph Macchio. So
Oh, okay.
it will, and it's a continuing universe. So it's not just like separate entities. So it'll all make sense cohesively, beginning with Karate Kid, Cobra Kai, and then Karate Kid Part 2.0.
So there are 5 more episodes, correct? That just dropped today.
I believe that there are 6, but
6. Okay.
Yeah.
6 more episodes.
Yeah.
And I'm going to close with this. You probably never heard this before, but I'm telling you the truth. I am a huge Martin Cove fan because he's very nice to me.
he's so nice.
And he's not nice to anybody, from
No,
what I
he's
understand.
nice. He did
Is
Dancing
he?
with the Stars.
He's
Yeah.
very nice to me. He was just a really nice guy.
He's delightful. He did Dancing with the Stars, I want to say like season 31, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. He
Oh,
didn't really
okay.
dance, but
So that's just kind of a presence he puts forth. He just kind of looks like a mean guy. Is that what it
Yes.
is?
He looks like a pit bull.
He does look like
does.
a pit
He
bull.
really
he
does.
looks he's a perfect villain, but he's
Yeah.
not a villain in real life. He's a
No,
really good
great
guy.
guy. Kristen, what an honor to have you and Catherine on screen with 2 losers like Andy and me. That's all we have to say.
Safe travels back to Minnesota.
Yep.
What
We'll
are
be
you
talking-
guys doing?
I know, it's not warm out.
7 below, ladies and gentlemen. 7. Well, that means it's only 89 degrees different than here.
Yeah,
No big deal.
it's hot here.
Yeah.
It's hot. It's like, oh, Shorts are too
Whoops.
much clothing down here.
I know. I'm sorry for you. I feel
I
sorry
know.
for you because
But
it's
you got to
such
go
a
back
dramatic
because you
change.
got to go to the Celebrity Deli. You got to go to. I'd love to
Oh.
go to Murray's and have a little steak dinner one night.
Well,
that
good luck
sounds good.
smashing it all in because the grandkids want to spend the night already tonight. So,
Tonight they do.
I
yeah,
don't know if you're going to
Uh-oh.
want to do that
that's
Well,
fine.
we'll see how it works
Whatever.
out.
right
All
after
the
a flight.
babies.
They're not little anymore. They're easier to deal with.
So
Yeah,
they
they're
want to spend the night
6
with
and
us
8.
tonight.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose we'd get home by about 8 o'clock, so they could stay up for a while.
Yes.
All right,
Plus,
Chris.
Pop Pop lets them watch a little TV.
We'll get it done. We'll see. We'll talk to you tomorrow, Kristen Burt.
Bringing the fluff tomorrow.
All right.
Thanks a lot. Kristen Bird, Entertainment
Bye.
News, brought to you by North American Banking Company. Go to nabanco.com to learn more. Take a break. Be right back. Very special guest. Has our very special guest arrived yet?
He has not.
Okay. Wait.
But he knows. I've confirmed it. He should be any second.
We'll take a break and we'll figure it out. My Pill is excited to announce that they're having the first ever mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets, queen size only $59.98, kings only $69.98. They sell out fast every year, so order now. Save 30% on their brand new My Crosses. They're designed in the likeness of the one Mike has worn every day for over 20 years. They come in men's and women's, and they're made right here in the good old USA. Or is it US of A when you say good old?
Good old.
No one cares. Yes, in any case, get the 2025 six-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. The initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. And the best-selling standard My Pillow, just $14.98. To take advantage of the first ever mega sale, go to mypillow.com and use promo code TOM or call 800-516-5146. But wait. Remember that $75 free shipping rule? Well, that ship has sailed because right now every order ships absolutely free. It's time for Wellshire, Alzheimer's and Dementia Care Facilities. Wellshire Alzheimer's and Dementia Care Facilities, memory care, of course, are a place where your loved one will live with pride and dignity. If you care deeply about someone in your life, Wellshire is the place I highly recommend. And again, I'd like to remind you, I've known these guys for 2 generations now. Wellshire is a memory care-focused facility that has a full nursing team, always staffed within the building 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They have never used or relied on any staffing agencies. Wellshire of Medina is now accepting elderly waivers after 12 months of private pay. I know them personally, as I just said, and they are a family-owned local company conveniently located right in Medina and Bloomington. They're the best staffed memory care facility in the state, as a matter of fact. Wellshire has a robust community with activities 7 days a week. If your loved one is in need of a memory care facility, please get in touch with my friends at Wellshire. Set up a tour or learn more at wellshiremn.com. That's WEALSHIREMN.com.
All righty.
Oh, that's right. I keep forgetting we don't have music till back to the show yet. We're going to get that next week probably, or a week after, something like that.
Oh, well, I've been digging through all of our files and stuff, and I did find, remember, for a very brief period on the family show, we were doing bumper music, and remember, I asked the audience for any local musicians
Oh, right.
to
Yes.
give me some music for
that'd be
bumpers.
good.
Well, I
That'd be
found all
nice.
that actually.
Oh.
I don't know. I'm assuming they'd all still be fine with us using it.
Well, why not? They sent it to us. So
Yeah.
that's good. That's good.
Yeah, so I mean, we got music, we got covers from local Minnesota musicians, so I should just be able to start doing that.
I like it. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Going on into breaks and out of breaks with music is not a bad, particularly out of the break with music.
Out of, yeah.
That sounds really nice. There's no question about it. This would make for a memorable Valentine's Day dinner. There's a Vietnamese place in Australia that hands out custom R-rated fortune cookies. Customers love it, so they recently ordered a new batch for Valentine's Day, but the fortune cookie company made a big mistake. They got the messages right, but accidentally shipped them out to other restaurants that brought normal fortune cookies.
Oh, Mommy, what does that mean?
That's exactly what they're going to get to, isn't it?
Yeah.
People who got the fortunes were quite upset. Here's the type of thing they got when they cracked open their cookie. Not all of them were dirty. One said, "You are capable of great things, but all you do is look at your phone all day. You won't be that great. Sorry." Well, so that's not all that offensive.
No.
But there was one that was dirty. Oh, my God. Oh, God. I'm gonna have to clean it up even on this show, which you can say whatever you want on a podcast, but not this one. But here's the one that was dirty, that offended everyone who saw it. The year of the snake bears good fortune. Your divorce is coming soon. Then it ended by saying their spouse only married you for your money, you ugly C word.
Wow.
Oh, my.
No.
That's
A
kind
little
of, why would
intense.
you want that?
Okay. Well, and they're handing out to kids
No.
in the wrong place.
But I mean, why would anybody want
I-
to open that?
I don't have any
It's a
idea why they'd want to do
horrible
that, but that's just
message.
me.
Yeah.
The restaurant that ordered them found out about it when the company emailed to say they weren't doing swear words anymore. The restaurant owner said it was their mistake, not hers, but they say they're not taking any chances. They'll still do silly messages or even rude ones, just no profanity. That's what really got people upset. Yeah, calling someone the big C, I suppose. Whether it's male or female, it doesn't really matter.
It's not very nice.
Well, I mean, they were intended for Australia. And they
Do you find that
they use that
offensive?
word quite a bit more often
Yeah.
than we do.
They use
So-
it. Yeah, their C word is our F word.
Not even, honestly, I don't think.
Really?
Yeah, no, they use it all the time.
Oh.
It's not even negative necessarily.
What, the big C?
Yeah, no, in
Yeah,
Australia,
no, you're right. They do. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right.
guys will call their friends that just because, you know,
Well,
why not?
Look at Ricky Gervais's show. I couldn't believe how often they said that.
Oh, God, constantly. Yeah, you're absolutely
Constantly,
right.
Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. That is a good show, though, don't you think?
It was a great show. I had to get over the whole thing.
The
I guess
profanity
it's a
part of it.
cultural deal. I guess it is. I mean, it is.
Yeah, I suppose that's probably true.
Yeah.
I don't know. What is Galentine's Day? It says Happy Galentine's Day. What is that?
That's single women that don't want to deal with men folk.
Oh, is it still tomorrow, though?
I think so.
So
I think if you're
Valentine's
in
and
between
Galentine's?
relationships, or I mean, a lot of young women don't want to have serious relationships, so
okay.
they just don't do that romantic stuff.
Well, it says Happy Galentine's Day. A poll asked women to name the top things they look for in a friend. 60% said common interest. 28% said a similar sense of humor. A fun-loving attitude is third at 4%. Poll looked at it, the whole shoot match things we talked for. Here are the top qualities women look for in their friends. Now, this would be female and male friends, right?
Yep.
Oh, this actually says a poll for it looked at how many good female friends the average woman has.
Oh,
26% said 3, 44% 4 or 5, and 26% said 6 or more. How many female friends do you have? Not including relatives and all that stuff.
12 that I talked to.
Really, 12?
Yeah, that I talked to. I mean, they're all scattered all over the place, but yeah, I would say 12.
So here are the top. So you have to tell us if you agree with these or not.
Okay.
Okay. Here are the top qualities women look for in their friends. Number 5, religious beliefs.
Not at all.
Doesn't matter to you at all. I know that. It doesn't matter to me either. Number 4, intellect, 2%.
I prefer it.
So
Well,
being dumb isn't a deal breaker.
No, it's not a deal breaker, but people that are dumb can be fun and very nice and very pleasant to be around.
Yeah.
But small increments, maybe. Don't see them as often as,
I suppose. Yeah, that's true. Number 3 is a fun-loving attitude. 4% put it at number 1, actually. So, you love fun-loving attitude.
I definitely like somebody that likes to go and do stuff and have fun. Yes.
Well, you said Joyce and her husband just hit the road. They're driving around, and you.
Yeah, they got the big old RV thing that they're hauling across the country, and they're doing that whole deal.
So Joyce and Kenny might be coming our way.
I don't know.
They're really
They're
nice.
just going wherever the wind blows.
Very, very nice people. There's no question about it. Number 2, a similar sense of humor. That, I got to believe, is very important.
I like that. I like a sense of humor.
But, I mean, the same as yours? It's
Oh, yeah.
similar, or at least similar to
Yeah,
yours?
absolutely.
And do you still feel, I mean, you're not a woman, obviously, but if you have friends, you like them to have the same kind of sense of humor you have, don't you?
yeah, I'd say so. That's
Yeah, it makes sense.
probably a more important one.
And this, I think, is the number 1 by far. Common interest. 60% said it's the most important thing. Yeah, unless you don't have any common interest, what are you going to talk about?
Exactly.
Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. I like people that if they like to travel or they like to go golf or go play pickleball or go to the beach or whatever. I like people, that like to do stuff that I like to do. Yes.
Andy, you feel the same way, even though we're talking about women here?
I suppose.
Well, I think most
Yes,
most
I
people want
suppose.
to have friends that have something in common with them. I mean,
Is there a male counterpart to Galentine's Day?
So that's today. Is Galentine's Day today?
do you think that men?
Yes, it seems to be.
Oh, okay.
Do you think that men would ever go out and buy pink fruity cocktails and wear red and pink and
No.
call it Bro Day or something?
No,
That's just
probably
not going to
not.
happen that I know of.
Well, they just
Yeah, I
have to
don't
do
think
the
so.
opposite. They have to do the male version. You'll order whiskey and
Yeah, there you go.
you wear dusters and cowboy hats.
Watch a fight.
Yeah, exactly.
Holy God, we've got a lot of messages today. I'm not kidding you. I've got about 30 messages on my phone. I was looking to see if.
Valentine's Day.
Well, I'm just looking to see if Mr. DeRusha is held up in traffic or something. I mean, it's not that big a deal.
He was having a hard time finding the building, but I think I got him on the
That
list.
building is
It's so hard
in
to
a
find.
black hole for
Yeah.
some people. For
Some
some
people
people,
just cannot find it.
I remember Louis Anderson the first time he
Oh,
came in
God.
to do. He called me up practically crying because he couldn't figure out
Yeah.
where the building was. And I'm like, it's across the street from Podani's. Always put in Podani's.
Oh, yeah, that's-
Bodani's
in
is the big
Google.
deal. Yep.
Jason is at iHeart, which is one building to the north.
Oh,
Yeah, he's at
yeah.
LI.
So he just
And
has
then-
to cross the street and he'll be here. So.
yeah, and then there's 3 brick buildings. Ours is the largest brick.
Ours is
building.
the big
That's
one.
what I
Yep,
keep
that's what
on
I
saying.
said.
Is ours is the largest
big
one.
one.
And then, depending on which entrance
Entrance?
you come
Yep,
in,
I
you
know.
might not be able to find it for another 15 minutes
Yeah,
because
that's-
it's
We had that issue a few
not
months ago.
easy.
Someone did the wrong entrance, so they were on the wrong half of the building, and I was like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
no, you're basically in another universe at this
I
point.
know.
You have to go all the way
it's-
down, go to the other side of the building, then come back up, then you can come into our."
I know. You're seriously they're sweating by the time they come up there and very
Yeah.
and not in a good mood either.
Yeah, I got to make sure that there's got to be some way we can lay out a map or something for people.
If you say it's across the street from Podani's.
It's probably
Podany or
I probably
Podany?
should have been more
Well,
specific.
Podανys is
Right.
it's like a
Furniture
it's an
store.
office furniture store.
right.
And that will bring you on because we're actually right on Highway 100. So I think that GPS just can't determine between the freeway and other roads right there.
Yeah, I think that's
I
a
think
big
that's
part
what
of it.
happened.
But see, the good thing for Jason today, Jason DeRusha is coming in. He should be in a couple of minutes. But going over to the other building, you got K-Fan over there. So Paulie Lambert, I talked to Paulie this morning, as a matter of fact. I talked to him about coming on this show, and maybe we should just get the whole morning show on this show. There's a few guys that are very, very nice, and they're obviously off the air by the time this one comes on. But I have known Paul Lambert since he was 16 years old, and he's a dear friend of mine. And I just happened to, by coincidence, talk to him this morning. So, if Jason went over there, I hope Paul was still there and could say hello to him. Is all I'm saying.
Didn't he used to write for
Who? Jason DeRusha?
no.
Paul Lambert?
Lambert.
I don't think he knows how to write.
He didn't write for who am I thinking?
No,
of?
you're thinking about Brian Lambert.
Ah.
You're thinking
Different
of Brian
Lambert, sorry.
Different Lambert, different family, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
No
So-
question about it. But
Speaking of messages from the listeners, a
yes.
couple. Tyre Carver texted me. So we were talking about Mishki and what he's doing.
Uh-huh.
So what happened is he stopped doing his podcast, The Road Show.
Right.
That's over. And
Uh-oh, there's trouble.
oh yeah, you can just there's a laptop open over there. I'll turn your mic on and I'll get you
He
on.
peeks in the door.
That's
so
like
Mishki is not doing the road show anymore, but he's going to be on Garage Logic on I think weekends
On weekends.
or wait,
Weekends.
this says
Well, that's
Friday.
good.
No, Friday.
Oh.
I think.
Oh, it's
They
gonna be
also
on Friday.
spelled their own website wrong, so take this with a grain of salt.
Okay.
You have
Garage Logic. And then someone is excited that Reverend Christopher is going to be on the show tomorrow.
Reverend, Tim Christopher will be on tomorrow. He's been on the show before. We'll have him on again tomorrow. He's a great guy, as a
And
matter
then
of fact.
someone just texted me the word perfect twice. I don't know what that means, but I'll assume it's positive.
Yeah.
I guess that Andy Perfect,
If
Catherine
you're the one
Perfect.
if you're the one who texted the word perfect 2 times to me, then please explain what that means.
I think he's
Um,
they're referring to you and your mom.
Jason, I'll come in there and I'll get the StreamYard set.
Yeah, why don't I take a break? Why don't we take a break
yeah.
here?
Good idea. Better
Yeah, we'll
work.
just take a break here, and then we'll come back. Jason DeRusha is in studio, ladies and gentlemen. And Andy's not firing it up.
Oh, I know.
He's
I'm not
working
playing.
on it.
There we go.
I'm working on it. I'm sick. I can.
Are
I
you
can
sick, really?
mulligan. Oh yeah, we're all very sick.
You don't come around me then.
Don't breathe on Jason.
Yeah, no, I'll avoid touching things if at all possible. All right, now it ought to work.
Usual thing of telling people they shouldn't be texting and driving. In Minnesota, you can't have your phone in your hands. You can use, hands free, but you can't have your phone in your hands for whatever reason. And that's why they made the law the way they did, so that police officers could see a phone in your hand and you got no excuse for why you got it there.
Do people know that that's the law?
I hope so. I mean, they used to follow it, and then kind of COVID kind of made people forget. And now it's like a freewheeling world out there with cell phones.
Let's say you get pulled over because you do have a phone in your hand and you're not watching where you're going. You got to be in pretty big trouble then, I would guess.
Well, the first one's not as bad. It's the multiple ones, the problem. And once people start stacking them up, then they have a big problem. And then what we're doing in car accidents is we've started bringing motions for punitive damages, because I'm trying to use the civil law any way we can to stop this, because it needs to stop.
Whenever I'd had any problems in my life, who was that I called again? It was like an MB, something like that.
Bradshaw and Bryant.
Does thinking about retirement make you uncomfortable? Sometimes the anxiety for wondering if you saved enough can be overwhelming. But what if I told you that you could ease those tensions in just 48 minutes? My guy, Josh Arnold, Mr. Money Talk, can sit down with you and get you on the right track for your financial future. Josh has navigated it all when it comes to uncertain market and economic conditions, and he'll always provide straight talk. Never sugar-coated advice on how to reach the finish line with your retirement goals. Don't let your financial worries give you an ulcer or keep you from calling Josh right now. His 48-minute no-obligation consultation could be just what you need to feel better about your future. Call Josh today at 952-925-5608. Set up your free 48-minute no-obligation consultation. That's 952-925-5608. Investment services offered by Josh Arnold Investment Consultant, LLC Security Investment Advisor. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. All investments must involve risk. You know that. All comments and opinions of Josh Arnold do not constitute investment advice. I am a paid endorser. Well, what do you think of that action? Jason, we don't have our back from commercial music set up yet, but Andy's going to bring it in for next week. So that's why there was no music.
Disappointing. I mean, I thought I was on with a broadcasting legend, a broadcast icon. What
You
is
mean
that?
Catherine? You're talking about Catherine?
That's what I was expecting, yeah.
Sorry about the black hole of that building, trying to find our building.
Well, it's a confusing address, right? When the address of the building is literally a street number and a highway.
Yeah, it's not. It shouldn't be
Yeah.
called that. It should
It's
be called
fine.
Cedar Lake or something.
For the last 20 minutes, I've just been pulled over on the side of Highway 100, just waiting for the podcast to start. You actually have a physical location, it seems.
Absolutely.
Hey,
Our address is-
we should put a billboard out there.
Our
This
address
way.
is 1 Exit 34.
Yes.
I'll tell you, the armed security guard at the other building I was at was not very interested in assisting me. I'll
Oh.
tell
Why
you
is
that.
there an armed security guard?
Well,
We
there's
don't
a
have
jeweler.
one.
There's a jeweler in there.
Oh,
Yeah.
St. Louis
Oh.
Park. Everybody's been talking about crime in St. Louis Park. So it's,
Really?
No.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, but you have to
I don't know
remember,
anything about that.
Paul Lambert's in that building, so he's very dangerous.
Oh my God,
I mean, it's unbelievable.
for sure.
We're just talking about the fact that I've known Paulie since he was 16 years old. I can't even remember. He was working at some store or something. I met him. He was like 16, and just he and I are really, really good friends. I've been for a long time, which is it's a nice thing.
It is funny when you hit that phase of career where you run into so many people who talk about like they met you when they
Oh,
were
yeah.
an intern or they were in high school. Or I feel like I shouldn't be that old, but I did check and I am. It seems I am.
You are Jason DeRusha with us, ladies and gentlemen. Where would you grow up?
Suburban Chicago. I grew up down the street from a freight train track and right in the flight path of the international flights that are there.
No fun.
Yeah,
Schaumburg?
that's what the real estate listing would say, I'm sure. Like,
Yeah.
bucolic piece.
Great location for the deaf.
Des Plaines, Illinois. Not far from
Oh,
Schaumburg.
Des
but Des
Plaines,
Plaines.
okay.
Well, Jason, you've done it all, though. I mean, you've done television, you've done radio, you've done you're a writer, newspapers. I mean, you've done it all, have you not?
Not very good at any of it, but I am
so-
prolific. I'll say that. Yeah,
We're shoulder to shoulder on that one. Then. Not very good at
you
it.
just
but
you just keep going, right?
keep moving forward. So, what's up these days?
Well, now I'm on AM radio because I surveyed the landscape and I said, what is the future? And
Sure.
Yeah. What is it?
AM. It's just AM, baby. Like slightly scratchy audio. That's what I was going for.
It's nostalgic.
I got to a point. I was approaching age 50, which has sort of been like surprisingly traumatic for me.
Really?
Turning 50. And now that I'm 50, it's been fine, but the build up to 50 has been a little.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I think men don't talk about this stuff, right? Because you seem weak. But it's like, even though this is top of mind because I just turned 50 on January 24th, so just a couple weeks ago. And the buildup, you're like, the world thinks of you differently if you're in your 40s versus in your 50s.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
True.
True.
And
Well-
so, especially as somebody who people like to say, like, I don't care what anybody thinks, but like, I'm a broadcaster. Like, of course I care what people think. Like, do I want them to always like me? Well, that's been the biggest shift of moving to radio from doing morning. I was a morning TV anchor for 10 years.
Yep.
Morning news, you just want people to like you. You want them to trust what you're saying and you want them to like you. You're not the ball busting journalist. You're, and I had those days, but like morning TV is different. And then to go to talk radio where you're like, like I can't just do a show where it's like, policy on transgender, your thoughts, weigh in, like, let's go. Like, that's not it. So you say what you think, and then people who have spent the last 20 years projecting whatever their own views are onto me because I was sort of a blank canvas. Now people are just, if you don't line up on the right or the left, then what you do is make everyone mad.
Yeah, I've done that.
And
There's
like,
no question about it.
What are we doing here? Like, everybody's always mad. Is this really what I want to do? I don't know.
It's interesting you bring that up because I grew up a Democrat. My mother was a hardline Democrat. No question. Grew up in North Minneapolis. And then I became a Republican later on in life. And then everybody was pissed off at me about that. Yeah. And now if I bring up the fact that I'm, kind of in the middle, they get pissed off at me for that. So you can't really win that war.
A friend of mine. Yeah. And you just have to decide that, you know what? There are a hell of a lot of reasonable people out there who are kind of going through life the same way you and I are, which is trying to analyze issue by issue and just try to do the right thing and try to be a good person. Yep. And those folks aren't the ones who are yelling and screaming on social media. So you just have to kind of keep being true to who you are and not worry too much. But that was a big shift for me, right? After 10 years of trying to be a likable TV news anchor. Different.
Very likable. There's no question about that. That's all I have to say. I got to be honest with you, and I don't know if this is unusual for a radio guy, podcasting guy, or whatever, but some of my best friends are news anchors. And I don't know why that is.
What does that say about you? I don't know.
What does that say about me?
Let's go deep. Like,
I don't know if they'd admit it. That's the other part of it. But a couple of them from CCO, a couple of them Channel 5, of course. Jeff Passolt was a news anchor at Channel 9. And I don't think anybody's ever liked me over Channel 11, but that might be a different deal. No, actually, when Paul Majors was there, he did. So I guess 4, 5, 9, and 11. I guess I've done well.
I think that, so I worry a little bit about the future of what, our television communicators are because, everything is so corporate, which is fine. Like, whatever, corporate America has paid a lot of bills for me. Like, I'm not anti-corporate.
Right.
But there's sort of a risk-averse, safe thing that you see everywhere. So, like, I've spent the last 2 years, your morning show, I think, set, I don't know, when I started thinking about what I wanted to do on radio, we talked about how you would attack headlines, have a cast of characters, interesting people. So I've spent 2 years, once a week, you set up these segments that are interesting, you hope, but maybe have an ulterior motive. And my ulterior motive was to find interesting people in the media that I could have as like recurring guests. And it was a really hard thing to do because most people are pretty boring.
Especially people on television. Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
a lot of television
Yeah,
people are
that's
very
true.
boring. Like,
Yep.
I think you think because they do a 2-minute interesting story that they're interesting,
Yeah.
and often uh, they're not. Like, they're just not, or they don't know how to play. They don't know how to have fun. They're nervous, nervous, nervous. Like, you don't get like the way Passel would play on your show, the way Rosen, the way even you look at, you know, Frank and Amelia, I think, like still know how to walk that line, but the younger group, like just kind of boring people. I don't know. It's not
Well,
yeah.
do people watch the local news any longer? I mean, I shouldn't say do they watch it, but it used to be huge. Local news was gigantic. Is it that big anymore?
No,
I didn't
but
think
it's
so
still
either.
significant. I mean, the
Right.
fact that in every city all across America, you have 4 stations essentially doing the same thing, just with different people. You can kind of, oh, this one's a little more tabloidy, this one's a little more
Right.
featurey. Like you can kind of, divide these up, but basically it's pretty much the same bit. So enough people are watching it to make money for, why would you keep doing this if you weren't making money? So I don't know. I think it's what shifted is the 10 o'clock, the late news here in the Midwest,
Right,
used to be the
yeah.
main deal. And because of Netflix and time shifting and everything,
Sure.
if you're watching a show, even if you're watching a network TV show like CBS, man, people love a crime procedural,
Mm-hmm.
Like last night, I think there was FBI International, FBI. There are 3 FBI shows.
Yeah, right.
From 7 to 10. As much as apparently the current administration seems to have trouble with the FBI. There's nothing more satisfying than watch the FBI. Like we want to watch you doing sex crimes. We want to watch you
Right.
doing international stuff. And please wrap that sucker up in it out.
Oh, yeah, I remember CSI, NCIS, Criminal Minds. It's been a thing for a long time.
But
wanna
people
watch-
time shift, right? So because you maybe you start watching a show that starts at 7, you start watching at 7:20 because you're just recording it on your DVR.
Yep.
And so I think people forget to watch the 10 o'clock news, or you're done streaming.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, a lot of
Yeah.
it was habit. Like, I don't know about you, but like I grew up in Chicago watching the ABC station in Chicago. I was watching Paul Majors' brother, Ron,
Yeah.
in Chicago. And it was just, that's what my parents watched. So that's what I watched. And it was habit. It was like, we're
The
going to watch.
TV's on.
The
Yeah.
TV was always on.
Yep.
My parents were always telling me, go outside. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, I showed you. Like, now
Now I am the TV.
now I'm the TV.
It's
Right.
interesting you talked about, corporations, they paid the bills and all that. But I mean, when corporations started taking over radio,
Oh, God. Oh, God.
Yeah.
they sucked the soul
Yeah.
Well,
out of
Disney was good.
creativity. Disney,
Yeah,
but that's
Disney did
a
a good job,
long,
yeah.
long,
That's a long
time
time.
ago.
But I mean, it's possible for gigantic corporations to produce good content. It's
I
just
know, but they were trading radio stations. It was just a commodity. How
Yeah,
many groups
absolutely.
of radio
Right.
stations can you buy, and who had the most radio stations? And then it was local television stations, and it all just became this big quagmire of not very interesting stuff.
Does
Yeah.
it seem to you, Tom, like over at my job, people talk about how you never have a great corporate boss and a great local boss? It's
Oh,
like one or the
yeah.
other.
yeah.
It's like sometimes you had great corporate leadership and you'd have like a goon at the local level. And like currently, I will say, like my local management, I have been shocked at how amazing and how hands off they are. Like they do reviews, like they'll do air checks and listen to shows with me, but they never say like, "Oh, I think you should talk about this," or if you
Right,
took this
right.
angle, people would get fired up. Like it's pretty much be yourself, do your show, and we'll see how it goes.
That's
We
great.
should probably tell people where you are now, what time you're on, where they can find you, all those
That's
things.
nice. Thank you. Yes, I'm on WCCO radio in Minneapolis and St. Paul. Although you guys have a video stream here of your podcast, it took me 2.5 years, but I got a couple of cheap webcams in the studio, everybody.
Hey. Yay.
I don't know if you've heard about it. We are on YouTube now, and a lot of people are saying the internet might be here to stay. So
That'd be good.
we are streaming on YouTube on the WCCO radio channel, but I'm on 3 to 6 afternoon drive on CCO.
Well, I tell you what, I got a couple of really good friends. Chad Hartman, I've known forever because of Sydney and all the rest of it. But Chad, I love that guy. Just a great guy. You have a lot of good talent over there. I know your sales manager. She was over at KQRS before she went over there.
I don't
And
know that I would be in radio if it wasn't for Chad. So
Yeah, I understand that.
when I did the Good Question segment over at Channel 4, a TV segment where we answered viewer questions, but it was usually questions on our mind. Chad had me on as like just a weekly guest on his show. And it taught me as a reporter, like how I could push the envelope with sharing opinion without being like a biased journalist. So you could have a strong opinion. I always tried to teach people in TV that you could have a very strong opinion on things that do not matter. So if you want to have a strong opinion about your favorite ice cream flavor, or if you want to have a strong opinion on parking meters, but you also could have a strong opinion on like when someone is not answering your question. Like none of that is politically biased. Like that's just journalism and a little bit of showbiz, right? Like so you can but I learned that from Chad, from being able to play on his show and find out like, ooh, I shouldn't have said that, or oh, I could go a little more bold there.
See, I think that's wonderful because, well, first of all, I look at the market and the changes. You know, we had, when Andy brought it up, when Disney owned KQRS, it was just whatever you needed. I would get calls from the chairman of the boards because it was the highest rated morning show in America at the time. Right. And he would call me directly, which it shocked me that he would do something like that. And then as we moved on, it just got worse and worse. It got more and more political, which I'm not a big fan of. Well, I mean, you guys catch some heat for George Soros. There's no question about that. Yeah. I don't know. Have you ever met George?
No.
So why wouldn't you care about that at all?
Yeah, I think people don't understand like how it works. You know, they think we get the talking points and like.
Right.
I'm not going to lie. Look, you're happy that anybody wants to invest in a radio company.
Right.
You're like, great. Thank you for pulling us out of bankruptcy. Would the Soros Group have been my number one choice for who I wanted? Like you knew how that was going to go. But there are also people who just want to dishonestly engage with you, and you can't get too worked up about it. Those people, I talked to a corporate person when they were recruiting me to come over to radio, and that is the last time I've talked to anyone from our corporate group.
Did you like him?
I think she used to work here, so I in the market, so I did like her. But I told her she had never been in the Odyssey, the WCCO radio building.
Okay.
And I told her, I'm like, I work at a TV station that's pretty nice. I want you to go next door and see the physical building that you're asking me to go work in, and then tell me if you think you would come and work here, because it's 100-year-old building. Like
it is, yeah.
And you know, you have nicer equipment in this conference room, I think, than I have at the 50,000 watt AM blowtorch in downtown Minneapolis. But
let me tell you, we have not spent a lot of money.
Oh, that's nice. Well, let me put it this way, though.
Yeah.
What Jason's talking about, particularly mine, is because I'm a little over 20 years older than Jason is. And back in the day at WCCO, if you didn't know who Boone and Erickson were, who Howard Viken was, Steve Cannon and I became really good friends until Gelfand ruined that for me. But, you know, no, just kidding. I love Gelfand. He's nuts, but I love the guy. That station was one of the most legendary radio stations in all of America, probably in the world.
Yeah. I remember listening to it when I was in Chicago. I mean,
absolutely.
I could get it at night. I used to, as a kid growing up in Chicago, I would listen to AM radio out of St. Louis. You could get it, you know, on a clear night, you get a good signal from Minneapolis. You could get St. Louis. Yeah, it was the heyday of like late night talk when Sally Jesse Raphael had a talk show. before she was famous on TV, she was a talk radio host.
I didn't know that.
See, I think that's wonderful. Just looking, just I got to be honest with you about this. Just having you in studio, Jason, is kind of cheered me up, because looking back on that, it does make me sad that 1500 KSTP just kind of sits there now, and a lot of a lot of big time at one time radio stations just kind of sitting there, and then you got FM is nowhere near as powerful as it used to be. The internet changed everything. There's no question about it. So that part, sad.
It is sad. And I was thinking, so look, I've only been doing this for 2.5 years. Like, part of the fun of leaving 25 years in TV news to go into radio is that I was getting a little complacent. I felt like I had to learn something and grow and be okay at something and try to build it up. And so I'm okay at doing what I'm doing now. So I wanted to look around the country like, all right, where can I get inspiration? And the truth is, there isn't much kind of, I don't know how to describe what WCCO radio is. Most spoken word radio is either sports or conservative talk. There's not a liberal talk. Yeah. Because liberals are boring, usually. Like, they haven't figured it out, right? Like, as you know, like, I wanted to ask you this, especially in the format you guys are doing now, because I've always thought about my job as like, there's a certain percentage of like informing and thought provoking, and there's a certain percentage of showbiz, of entertaining, of making you feel good or whatever.
Right.
What do you? So like, when I was doing the news, I think morning news was like 60% informing, 40% showbiz nonsense. And on a good day, some days it was the other way around, but the goal was like 60-40. The goal for the 10 o'clock news should be like 80% informing, 20% showbiz. For talk radio, I'm more like, I don't know quite where to put that ratio. I think it's more like it's got to be entertaining for people. Right?
That's very, you know what? I have never told anybody this. I've never mentioned it to anybody. So, Jason, you will be the first person that I've ever told this to. When I got hired, well, first of all, we found out I was doing voiceover in New York. But Catherine and I were living in New York, just kind of hanging out. And literally, Catherine came home one day and said, "We're going to have a baby." And, of course, the baby is Andy, sitting right across from you right now. And I said, well, I can't see raising a baby on 20th Street and 2nd Avenue. I can't see that. Loved it. I absolutely loved living in New York. And, back in those days, there was no internet, so you used to have to fly to Chicago. I worked a ton at A+ in Chicago. I loved Chicago.
You didn't want a 10-year-old in the park smoking dope?
No, that's exactly right. But literally what happened was, so I'm on the phone, talking to somebody, and Catherine goes, "Hey, we're going to have a baby." And I'm like, "Oh God, what are we going to do?" And the phone rings. I hang up, and the phone immediately, as I put the back, younger people, what the hell are you talking about? Right. As I put the phone back on the hook, basically, because that was 38 years ago or 39 years ago now, I guess it would have been. It rang, and it was Dave Hamilton. He said, "Tom, do you have any interest in getting back into radio?" And I said, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, we got a morning show job, and if you have any interest, I'd love to hire you to do mornings at KQRS." I said, "God, I never even thought about that," but I looked at Catherine and I said, "Well, if we're going to move back to Minneapolis, St. Paul, it'd be good if I had a job, because having a baby too, back in those days, when you did voiceover, you had to fly to Chicago, to Los Angeles, to New York. You had to fly all over the place, right. St. Louis and all the rest of it." But I said, "Yeah, okay, that sounds good." So we fly back. I go in to meet with Dave Hamilton. He goes, "There's one thing." And people need to understand this. At that time, so it was 38 years ago, so I'm in my early 30s, right? And I had been an ardent Democrat my entire life because, I was a North Side guy, North Minneapolis, all the rest of it. I get in there and Hamilton says, "There's only one thing about it you might not like. So I don't know if you're going to want to do this or not." And I said, actually, he told me this after I signed the deal. After it, he said, "We're going to do a new format here that's never been done in Minneapolis, St. Paul before." I said, "Okay, what's that?" He said, "You're going to be a Republican." And I went, what?
Mm.
He said, yep, it's never been done before, and you're going to be.
Well, and it's something unique in Minnesota. That's for
Yeah.
Yes, it is. I will tell you, I just said, Dave, I will be killed in the street if I'm an ardent Republican on radio in the Twin Cities. He goes, well, I'm telling you, Tom, something needs to change in this market. It's too one-sided and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, well, if that's what you want. I mean, can I at least ease into it? And he's like, no, we'll just go right after it. I'm like, oh, God. So I became a Republican because that was my job.
That was like a format. Like instead of a country radio station,
Yep.
Now we're doing classic rock. No, your format switch was Republican.
The amazing thing is that the
Pretty
part
idea by your program.
No, it was brilliant because we ended up with a 40 share. It was the highest rated morning show in America at one time. But I cannot tell you, Jason, the abuse I've taken from the Democratic Party. Oh my God, they went after me, and they still do, actually. But I'm big enough to handle it. It all works out in the end. It was so unusual. And then the one thing that did help me is when Norm Coleman was the mayor of St. Paul. He got married and he became a Republican. So there were two of us, apparently. Him by choice and me by, you want this job, but you want to keep this job, you're going to have to be a Republican. So I have never told that story to anybody, Jason, but now everybody's going to know that that's how it. And look, now I got to be honest with you. I think it gave me more tolerance being a Democrat and being a Republican. I'm more tolerant of everybody than most people are, because if you're one side or the other, boy, yeah. I've had things said about me on like Wikipedia. It's like, that's not even close to being true, but people do believe it's true because they're trying to destroy you. That's what they try to do. So, in your business, my business, you're going to have great success if you're good at it, but you are going to take a few punches to the gut. There's no, I mean, as well as I do, that's how it is.
Yeah, it's been, I always have been very active in social media. And so when I started doing radio, I was using social media as sort of a way to test out topics, like throwing out on social media, see how it goes. And my wife asked me to tone it down because people were so like they were really coming for me. And it is, you get some of these groups who kind of, everybody's got their bit, right? Like they're trying to rile up their supporters or whatever.
Right.
But it is frustrating when people just are 100% misrepresenting what you say or think.
Oh yeah, that's
especially
tough.
Like in my case, like every day I am on the air for 3 hours. If you gave a crap about what I thought about any of these things, come on in and listen. Yeah. Like it's here. Yeah. And frankly, you don't even have to listen now. All the podcast services do transcriptions. Yep. You could just read it, like whatever. There's so many ways, but people don't really care. Like that's what I've come to determine, that the loudest voices don't really care what you genuinely think. No. They just want to use you as like a punching bag to help like make them.
Well, and
that's fine.
One of my favorite things that people do in that
click the link and listen to the podcast. Let's help me make some money if you're going to use me as a punching bag.
I agree.
I like it when people they can glean some secret meaning from pretty much anything anyone else.
Oh yeah.
One of my
it's always something that's like, you'll say, I bought some Eggo waffles the other day, and they're like, okay, well the Eggo waffles clearly what he meant to say is dismantle Palestine.
I know. That's my pet peeve, is what he's really saying.
Yep.
It's like, how about you just take the words for what they are and not interpret them? That makes me insane.
It is interesting to have, no one thinks that TV news people like don't have fully baked beliefs on every single topic.
Right.
But I will tell you, leaving TV news and going into talk radio, the topics that you cover on local news and the topics that make good conversation pieces on talk radio, there's almost no overlap. So I really had to start from scratch to figure out what I thought about things. And some of that is a little messy. Like there are days where I think like, oh, if I were just doing conservative talk or liberal talk, it would be a lot easier. Mm-hmm. It's like doing top 40 radio. I know what the hits are and I'm going to play them every day over and over. And if you start fresh and say, what do I actually think about this issue? It's a lot more work because I had opinions on things, but they were more like dinner party opinions, like 30 seconds of a half-baked idea that if someone challenged you, you probably were like, hey, like, what do you think of this? What do you think of the steak? I don't know. Like, it just wasn't that fully.
Yeah.
And it's different to have an 8-minute opinion to carry a full segment than having like a 30-second opinion. So it's been a fun process. I actually wish more Americans could just reset whatever they think their team believes.
Yes.
Just take a fresh look and think about things. And, most of us we all want the same stuff. We just have sort of different paths to get there. We all want to feel safe. We all want good schools.
Right.
We want economic prosperity. You want everybody to have an equal shot, which doesn't mean equal outcome, but it does mean everybody should have an equal shot. Like, a lot of this stuff is not controversial.
No.
But it's just, we used to be able to have good faith arguments about the right way to get there.
Right.
Well, that is one thing about the pre-internet days is in the past, if you ask someone what they thought about a novel topic to them, they would think about it and they'd form an opinion, largely because they didn't know what the correct opinion was.
That's so interesting, Andy.
And now it's like, if I want to, like, give me a topic, I probably know what Donald Trump or Kamala Harris thinks about it because I can't escape it. So if I like Trump, I'm going to say whatever Trump thinks and vice versa. And I have no choice in the matter because it's like, I am the kind of person personally who never watches the news. I think I've heard Trump speak twice in my life and Harris maybe once. And yet I could tell you with pretty good accuracy what they believe about basically anything.
Yeah.
And that it colors my view because it's like, oh, do I really want to agree with the person I didn't vote for, that sort of thing.
Sorry.
No,
Well, we've all seen the clips of, CNN and MSNBC saying the exact same words about a topic.
Yes.
Every night, every morning, it's like they say the same words. It's like, is this the same writer?
Yeah.
And that's polarizing in itself.
Mm-hmm.
it is.
Some of it is, I think you do get a groupthink that happens in journalism which, I do think the Republicans have made an industry over the last 2 decades of making the media just absolutely evil. And if you're like a young kid who leans to the right, do you want to study journalism? So like,
yeah, good
so
point.
like, who's getting into the field? Like, I think there's always been a left leaning bent to journalism because what is journalism? The idea is to expose truth. And most journalists think if I expose truth, I can affect change. I'm not saying whether that's a political right wing or left wing, but it is an inherently liberal viewpoint that you're going to affect change. You're going to, once people see the truth, things will change. It's not, we used to talk about it at Channel 4 when the big debate in the state was about making it legal to carry a concealed weapon. And the reality is what happened after that is what most logical thinking people thought would happen, which is nothing. It didn't make things worse. It didn't make things better, generally speaking. In the aggregate, nothing really changed. It was fine. If you want to carry your weapon, carry your weapon. But when you think of TV storytelling, boy, the crime victim telling their story is a lot more visually and emotionally dramatic than like some, gun owner trying to explain why they want to carry their gun. So like, how do you balance that out? Like, we would talk about that. How do you tell a story? Even if you're telling both sides of a story, one side sometimes has like a bigger emotional weight. Like, how do you do that in a fair way? I don't know. I do think like people should know the media does, like, at least the good faith media, the local media, they talk about these things and are trying to think about like how to do it in the right way.
Right.
But Catherine's point is right. Like national media, I watch CNN now and it's almost unrecognizable. You're like,
oh, that's true.
Just like, what the hell?
And frankly, Fox News right now has more like reporters out in the field doing reporting. And you're like, what happened? Like,
I know. Yeah.
Sometimes if you just want to know what's going on, You're like, where do you go for that? And maybe people don't. Like, people consume so many. I don't know. One of my resolutions this new year was to try to consume more reporting and less opinion. And it's hard, like, because most of our social media feeds are full of like analysis and opinion. And I just want to read like reporting, like just tell me what's going on. But I know that I don't think that's what most people want.
Jason, you got to come back. I'm telling you, now that you know where the building is, we got to get you.
Oh,
I
Danny's.
was literally walking. So I was at the wrong building
So
and I
bad.
started walking.
Now's not the day to walk.
The current temp is 2 below zero.
Yep.
So I'm walking around. I'm like, I bet
Wow,
I
you're
can
dedicated.
find this. I can find this building.
I would
We
have.
got here. We got it done.
I would have
Well,
said, "Too bad, so sad. I can't be on your show today."
That's my
You're
that's
very
my
dedicated.
dedication.
You're very dedicated.
Catherine and I are hopping a plane in about 1 hour to come back to Minnesota. It is 81 degrees here, and I believe it's 2 below there.
I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to it.
Next
So that'll
week,
be interesting.
I go to Fort Myers to hang out with the twins for a twin spring training.
Oh,
Oh,
wow, that's
nice.
tough.
That'll be nice.
One of these days, Jason, I would love to, and if we have to record it at a different time, that'd be fine. But to get you and Chad in studio together would be phenomenal.
We
I would
could
love
for
that.
sure do that in the morning. That would be great.
Okay, why don't we work that out? Just give Andy your number if
I'll
you
give my
would,
number.
Your
That'll be great.
deets.
and then
Thank you
Andy,
guys
we
for
got
having me. This was super fun. I really
you got to come back very very soon. I love the fact that we talked about all these issues where no one got angry, and other people would have gotten very angry. Oh, you're wrong. It's like no, people get to have their opinion. Calm down.
Not our MO.
Everything, yeah, it's not our MO. So we'd love to have you back soon.
You know, I respect the hell out of you, Tom, and
That's kind of
Catherine.
you.
What both of you are doing in this format, I think, is so great. Andy's fine, but
Hey, I got RSV.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm unmockable at the moment.
Jason, thank you so much, and we will stay in touch. And like I said, if we could get you and Chad in studio at the same time, we'll get that done. It'll be phenomenal.
awesome. Thanks, guys.
Andy, we got to go to break.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
I'm signing
We'll be
off.
right
I got to
back.
get going.
All right, last break. Here we go.
Why should your business bank with North American Banking Company? Here's Austin Bartz of Bartz Lawn and Landscape and Bartz Snow Sculptures.
I started banking with North American, I think 3.5 years ago. All the people know me by name. I know them by name. It's fun to come into the bank and actually talk to somebody you know. So I made the switch and I'm very happy. It's the best bank I've ever been at.
So why not bank where I bank? With my friends at North American Banking Company. To learn more about North American Banking Company, go to nabankco.com. That's nabankco.com, or do what I do and stop by any one of their 6 Twin Cities locations. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Does thinking about retirement make you uncomfortable? Sometimes the anxiety for wondering if you saved enough can be overwhelming. But what if I told you that you could ease those tensions in just 48 minutes? My guy, Josh Arnold, Mr. Money Talk, can sit down with you and get you on the right track for your financial future. Josh has navigated it all when it comes to uncertain market and economic conditions, and he'll always provide straight talk. Never sugar-coated advice on how to reach the finish line with your retirement goals. Don't let your financial worries give you an ulcer or keep you from calling Josh right now. His 48-minute no-obligation consultation could be just what you need to feel better about your future. Call Josh today at 952-925-5608. Set up your free 48-minute no-obligation consultation. That's 952-925-5608. Investment services offered by Josh Arnold Investment Consultant, LLC Security Investment Advisor. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. All investments must involve risk. You know that. All comments and opinions of Josh Arnold do not constitute investment advice. I am a paid
I think you
endorser.
just
What?
oh, mom muted my mic for a second there.
Uh,
All right, Andrew, that is going to do it. I thought that was terrific. He was such a great guest. I
Yeah.
thought it was wonderful. But we'll have him back in. We'll get Chad in. We're going to get all these people in because, again, real professionals can sit and talk about things, and even if your opinion differs, which I don't know if it did that much anyway, but you can have a conversation, ladies and gentlemen, without getting upset. That's the wonderful thing about it, right? All right, Andrew, we'll see. Probably won't see you tonight because you're
No.
sick.
well, no, yeah. Hopefully, we're going to be feeling all right by this weekend. We'll see.
Okay, we'll see you this weekend. We're getting on a plane coming up to Minneapolis in about 2 minutes, so I better get going.
Yeah.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
Thanks for listening.
song reminds me of this one was before. Every time I hear the sing, reminds me how you talking